Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Hoven, your host of the Difference Makers podcast. This is a place where people come together that are making a difference for those who want to make a difference. And that's you. We're bringing thought leaders together in a sense of fusion where ideas and concepts and personalities are all driven together into one place at one time. And this is no different. In this episode, you're going to see cool things from cool people making a difference.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ramos Law Difference Makers podcast. I am here with the biggest difference maker I know, Dr. Jim Hoven.
Oh, man, you are so kind. I'm in your wake. We always talk about wake, and so your wake is making a big difference. I just get a draft in it and do lots of cool stuff with you.
You're too kind. Well, I took over the intro even here today, and I'm thankful that you are joining us. As always, if you like this, please leave us some comments below, questions below. Please give us a 5-star review. I hate to ask for that, but obviously the more reviews we get, the more people that watch, the more lives we can impact, and that's how you make a difference. So I actually prepared for this last minute. In fact, just before I ran over here, I was like, what are we talking about today? Because sometimes we'll share a topic. And I just got my topic from Anita as I walked in the room here, our director of our social media stuff here at Ramos Law. Before I ask you a question, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm having a great day. This has been a really good day. I know that you've been grinding, like you've been pushing intensity to the wall all day, and I've been meeting with people. So we've done a couple really great videos for some guests that's going to be highlighted in upcoming podcast episodes. So yeah, I'm charged up and ready to be with you.
What are you? Drop us a little hint.
Oh, little
hint.
What's
just a topic?
Let's
is
show
it an athlete?
No, we actually got a chance to talk with the owner of a body shop. Her name is Jana. She's super cool. Wow. She's the owner of this body shop, of course, male-dominated world. And she was on one side. I mean, the other side was Matt Osborne, our consumer protection attorney. And of course, man, you guys, if you saw the episode, ridiculous. It's amazing. But it's what to do when insurance companies kind of cut some corners on repairing a car, and then that car is now dangerous. And so Matt got to share, we got to hear it from both sides of making sure your car is well and what happens and what's the responsibility from the carriers when that doesn't. So super fun.
Wow, that's an interesting one. I'm gonna have to watch that one when it comes out. So stay tuned for that. That we get that question all the time, obviously through our online portal. People asking lots of questions of that. I'm glad you guys addressed that. Well, I've got something a lot more simple to address. And it involves kind of what you just said. You said, I've been kind of pushing it all day, every day, and I have been one thing to the next. When you start bumping back one appointment by half hour and another one by half hour, it's that's when you know you've tried to book too many hours into a day. That's my day to day so far. And as I was walking in here, and as I said, I was actually teasing Gabe and Anita and talking to them about that process. And it came out that sometimes doing things like that, while I love my work, overpacking, overpromising, trying to overperform, while it has good intentions, can steal your joy.
Even what you love to do.
Even doing what you love to do. Sometimes it steals my joy, and I own it. I bring it on. I did it. And so, first of all, what are your thoughts about overpacking, overscheduling, one thing after another? Does that give you more joy, less joy? How does it affect you?
No, actually, I have been working through this process where I have found that I love to, we'll use a different context, information. I love to take in information. I love it, right? Yes. So, but my nature is I'm a little bit different than you. You will go so deep, so far down a rabbit hole, so fast, it blows my mind. I like to taste and taste and taste all the different dishes on the buffet. So it just gives me an awareness, right? But what I realize is when I do that too much and I don't process anything, I don't learn anything. And the same thing happens with meetings. And you and I maybe have touched on this a little bit. I've really made an effort to now, instead of having back-to-back stuff, to schedule myself 15 minutes in between items so that I can process, take notes of whatever I needed to do, and kind of reset the clock or hit zero or reset before the next thing. And it doesn't always work, but if I don't, I'm running on momentum, but I'm not getting the experience that I want. And I think that's akin to what you're saying.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Here's something that just started this week for me. And if any of you out there have had something where you find your joy robbed by the amount of time, or by, as Dr. Hoven saying, maybe going an inch deep and a mile wide, you know, or like what I do, going a mile deep and only an inch wide. If you find in one way or another that steals your joy. So our IT guy here, Juan, had sat me down he was teaching me, without going into it too deep, OneNote and some of the stuff that I could use within this program that we have in our business. And one of the things were prioritizing things between projects and to-do lists. I've kind of thrown them all onto a common list or onto my calendar. And he sat me down, and the way that he broke it out for me, it broke into stuff that are projects I need help with and where I need help. And I could start breaking those out. And those are things I don't expect to be done immediately. And then on kind of a to-do list, he actually helped me break it out into, you know, high priority, medium priority, low priority. And then it forced me to look at everything I have that I'm trying to get into my calendar, that I'm trying to get into this day, and go, where does it fall? Is this a project where I can get some help on and incorporate other people? Is this a simple thing? And then on the priority list, am I tackling easy or hard first? Because what I find is I start kicking stuff down the road because maybe I don't have a lot of time, so I just jump and knock a few easy ones out.
Yes.
But then I start to feel the pressure because the hard ones, which are actually the higher priority, I haven't done.
Yes.
And then that pressure starts to rob my joy. So one of the things that helped me, and I kind of would like to know what helps you when you feel that pressure, is one of the things I just realized this week that helps me is not just organization, but actually detailed organization.
Can you define that?
Define that. Yeah, detailed organization is this. It's not just what do you have to do and how you're going to get it done. It's how important is it to everything you're doing? What will actually move the ball and make a difference? Because when you do detailed organization, you take a step beyond the project. You go to what's it affecting, and how does that affect you or your organization? And is that really a high priority or not? So, for example, I was very pressed for one of my businesses to get some leases done and to negotiate some new leases. And what I realized was that I felt like it was a now thing, but there's so many steps involved that I'm going to do with it that I was able to send out a list of questions to somebody on that lease, and that's pushing it forward. I was actually able to ask for some consultation from someone else who's an expert in the field, and the tenant who's waiting on it got attention. I have knowledge that's kind of cooking, and that organization of thinking that way took it a step beyond, I just need to get this lease done.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Do you remember, it's been since 2017, 2018, you and I took a course from Darren Hardy together. Remember that?
Yes.
And there was a thing called the Sunday planning system. And in that system, I remember as we were looking at it, and it's been brought back to the surface, so I'm consciously aware of it now. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of using it, but it would go something like this. Pick your top 3 goals that you want for the year. Now, in your case, that's really difficult because you have so many things going on. Mm-hmm. But, for me, I did a top goal for Ramos Law, a top goal for FitMD, and a top goal for me personally. And then there were 3 quadrants, remember? And then that 4th quadrant was called the Devil's Vortex. And that was all the stuff that robs our time, which can then rob our joy because we're not focusing to that right side of that curve. Remember that XY curve? And it goes up like this, and we really, small hinges move big doors at this side. So I went through the process of, okay, what's really driving that? What's my hinge that I can help our businesses move the biggest door? And so I've noticed on the weeks that I'm most successful are when I identify on Sunday the number one thing that I have to get done towards my Ramos Law year goal on this next week, and for my FitMD goal, and for what I call the best version of me. So I write down a few things from each of those, or in the Ramos Law, it's a lot of things every week, and then I take a highlighter and I go squit, 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 and then those are the top 3 things I have to put in my calendar. Wow. So now my calendar is built around those, remember our big rocks, pebbles, and sand thing?
Yes.
So I've started incorporating that, and to at least make sure that, you would know is your lease that thing. I have what my leases are versus this has to get done, like our project that we're doing for the CCA and, all those kind of, that's on my week stuff. So that's what I've been doing.
I'm so glad you remind me of that, because it's funny how, and I don't know how many people out there do this, but clearly I do, because this is an example of it. You attend something or you do something and you learn and you grow from it. But if you don't exercise that muscle, then you forget about it. because I forgot all about that course and about what you just showed me, and it is along the lines of organization. Is there's this great big huge project that might be ongoing, but you took 3 steps this week, and you're going to conquer those within that big project. And next week that project's going to be those steps ahead, and you're going to take 3 more steps, and you're going to conquer it, right?
Yep.
And then ultimately that helps you hit your year-end big 3 goals.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. And you're right, we did learn that together, and I've already forgotten it.
Well, here's what I know about that, and this is for something anybody who's going through this kind of journey with us. I noticed this when I would work with chiropractors and in myself. I always, so let's say, one of our team, they see us, right? Like when they need help, they see us for our various things, like you with all the medicine, me with all the musculoskeletal stuff.
Yes.
And I have been trained in 100 things, certified in this and that. And you know what I always do? I go back to the first things I learned and to the most recent things I've learned. There's a recency bias to what I like. What did I just learn in this book? Yes. I'll try that with what I knew. And all the stuff in the middle, all these great courses I took, I forget because they're not so ingrained in my DNA from the old days, and they're not in recency because I haven't referred back to them. I think it's a human nature thing.
Right.
I really do.
Okay, so let me ask you one more question. So I started with, this robbing of joy, and what do you do in that regard? So what gives you great joy? What do you do that gives you great joy is the first part of the question. It's a 2-part question.
Okay.
What gives you great joy and why?
Okay.
What is the deeper reason on why it gives you great joy?
So for me, I'm going to answer it in 2 parts because I get great joy from what I do. And you mentioned that too, like, things bring you joy, but when it gets too stacked and too hectic and chaotic, it kind of robs your joy.
Yes.
I can honestly say that every single day, I can't wait to come to work. It brings me joy when I'm in my strength zone, or what you and I talk about now, our working genius. When I'm in my working genius, and when I'm on the right side of that curve, however you wanted to say it, that brings me joy. And so knowing those things and operating there and really watching the flowers grow from the, just the nurturing you give them, that brings me joy. But outside of this, and I think this is kind of maybe where you were going with the question, is for me, there's a few things that bring me joy. One is working out. I just love the feeling of pushing my body into a place where I know that I'm getting better and I'm staying healthier and I'm building longevity. To me, longevity is a thing, right? Like I want to try to be longevity in as many ways as I can. So that fills my cup. It gives me a chance to work off stress, and to start my day right, because I do it in the morning. So it just gets me going. That brings me joy. Also being outside throwing discs for disc golf,
really?
Frisbee golf. Love that.
You're kidding me.
No, you just walk around and you're out in nature and you're with friends and you're doing that stuff. Shauna and I will do it a lot together. So I love that. And then fly fishing. Fly fishing for me it's basically like church with action. Because I'm out there and I'm just hearing the water and the wind is breeze blowing, and you're making this excellent presentation to this fish, hopefully, and then there's this dance between you and the fish, and I have completely respect for this beautiful animal, and then when we're done, send him on his way and say thank you, and it's just exploring the day. So those things recharge my batteries, so that when I come here, I'm full of joy too.
Wow, now that's cool. So that helps me get a deeper understanding on the fishing part, because you explain the outdoors, you explain the challenge, you explain the peacefulness, the sounds. Why does the throwing the Frisbee golf version, what about that brings you joy? Is it the challenge of getting it close? Is it exercise? What is it?
It's a combo. And so one thing I've watched, and I'm sure you've seen this, like you're so competitive all growing up in your sports and the things that you did. And I was very similar in that regard. And now my competitive side has moved to a collaborative side. And so now I don't keep score when I go throw discs. It doesn't matter, right? What I'm trying to do is get better with every throw and try to make it good. And then to know that it's something that I can do with Shauna or with Ian, who loves to do it, or, got Daniel into it now. So now there's these people that I can go have a good time, and we can talk and we can be together and, rib each other when the throw goes well and not well. But again, it's outside doing something active that just, that makes me happy. And then that connectedness of doing it, I never go do it by myself, so I think it's probably the relationship side.
The relationships, yeah.
What about you? What do you do to replenish and get joy?
Well, I do a lot of things. Outside of work, let's leave it to let's go there. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think that I love work and I love what I do, and I love it for a variety of reasons. But it's all the stuff you've already said: teamwork and the people I'm around, and hearing people laugh and seeing everybody together, and building on stuff that helps people. Common things I think with work. They're more general, but with personally, individually. So I get great joy out of most things that involve physical movement or involve the outdoors, one of the two. And I think the reason the physical movement part is because I don't think you think about it sometimes, like when you go into a profession like law, how much time you're going to spend sitting.
Oh, man.
And so you sit at your desk, you sit at a computer, your eyes are fixed to a screen, there's a phone to your ear, and that's what most of your time is. And because of that, whenever I'm able to just move, it's like I get great joy of like going over to my barn and sweeping the floor. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it just feels good. Or like today, my wife said, we just opened up our swimming pool, and she said, the bottom of the pool is full of all these leaves. And I said, I'll come home and clean it out. And I'm actually looking forward to that. Like going home and, sweeping it out and, making sure it's all vacuumed up with a pool vac. And, it'll take, probably a couple hours, right? I've got all this other things that I need to do. But I will get great joy from doing that. So far all day I've been behind a desk with a phone in my ear. So just about anything with movement or activity, I really, really enjoy. And then much like you, outside of that, I really enjoy the outdoors. Like my biggest joy comes from outdoors. And it's the one place that I feel like I'm more in touch with God. And I think it's because there's all those elements, like if it's daytime, the sun hitting you, or even if it's raining, the rain hitting you, and the scents and the smells, the beauty of being out there. I'm always amazed by, when I sit there as I'm walking up through, there's always something that strikes me like, oh my gosh, like, look how that rock foundation is. Or look how cool these trees are and how underneath them is completely protected. There's no weeds growing underneath the trees. And, and I just really get into all that. And, you see the wildlife associated with it. Just a great sense of peace.
Noticing that subtle change.
Yes, little subtle things and it's what the thing is that's amazing is it never loses its attractiveness.
The freshness of it is
every
amazing.
Time. Every time.
So I got to tell you the story. I was, Sean and I were up on our property fishing, and our family has built a memorial for our son that passed. That's coming up on 2 years, and so we put these rocks, and shortly after he passed, there was a group of us, all the kids, and Sean and I we all wrote a message to Connor, and we stacked these rocks up on this other rock, knowing that no one ever goes there. Like, you can see it from the truck, but there's no reason for anyone to be there. So it's been there for 2 years now, right?
Wow.
And so every time we go, the first thing we do before we start fishing is we hike up to that little rock, and then we just sit there for a minute and we say, Con, man, we know that you're with us fishing today. This is going to be a great day, and we might shed a tear, and we just have a great time. So we're up there one day, and this was last fall, and this goes to like nature bringing back joy. I'm looking, and it almost like out of the corner of my eye, it feels like I see a whole mass of ants moving. And I'm like, what is that? And I look, and I'm not kidding you, it was 500 elk. 500.
Wow.
And so they're all moving, and you've been to our property. They were moving the highways here. They were moving from my visual right to my left, and they were all in a line, hundreds and hundreds. And so they get to the highway, and as the highway comes over, there's a car coming. So the first one hops over to lead elk, and these are males and females, and so they take off. Well, car's coming, so the herd splits in the middle. So now the half on our side turns back around and takes off back from whence they came. The others are sprinting towards the mountains on the other side. Never seen animals cover ground so quick.
Wow.
So we're like, oh, that was so cool. Hundreds of them. We walk back down now, and we're getting ready to go fishing. So we're getting our rods ready. We're doing all the stuff. All of a sudden I hear, and I hear this squeaking, bugling sound, and I turn around, and that whole herd has now crossed the river and is right behind me, going up the side of the mountain where I'm at. And I sat there, Sean and I sat there for 15 minutes, and I turned on my video, and I could hear them squeaking and squawking, and the being that close to that nature and them doing what they do just completely filled my soul with joy,
Oh,
of gratitude,
goodness.
of humbleness,
Yes.
of just amazement. So, those are the kind of things, like, I can totally get behind you with the nature. Like when you told me your goat hunt story,
Yeah.
I was amazed. So I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, definitely. And on your elk story, I've had a very similar experience. Once I was actually with a good family friend of ours, Hunter, and we were at the top of a mountain, and we were walking down through a saddle, and an elk came up to my left, and I motioned Hunter, sit down, and we just sat down, just quietly, right in our spots, and we were kind of in some brush and stuff. It was pretty deep, and that elk hadn't seen us, and we could barely see it. It was coming uphill towards us. We were like getting in the saddle. Well, it turns out there were probably 120 or 130 of them, and they came right up at us, and they literally split right around us. Literally, no exaggeration, 10 yards, 15 yards. This whole herd just kind of comes to us, and we didn't move anything except for our eyes. We sat there and were looking, and they were talking, and they were holding their little conversations and doing whatever they do as they were coming up. It was the coolest thing. You could literally smell them. They would strip kind of the dust off the brush and stuff as they were coming. You could smell that. It was, just incredible.
So I got to ask you something on joy. You didn't mention this, but I've seen you in a joyful place that normally, again, you're so great to work with, and you exude joy when you're here, but you got a lot going on too, right? And watching you be at your freest from just a soul perspective is when you've taken me up flying. There's something about that when I watch you, that to me, like, you just emanate what joy is when you get behind the whatever you call the wheel or whatever of an airplane, and you take off, just what you feel. And as you were touring me around, like, look at this, and I mean, you just feel like you're in the heavens, and that is your kind of heaven on earth.
Yeah, I have a hard time not smiling as I hear you say that. And it's funny because, some people get a lot of anxiety from flying. I always tell my family, I always say, we get on the plane, do it every single time. I tell Gus, anybody who flies with me, as they sit down, I say, I come over the intercom of the aircraft, and I say, welcome to the safest part of your day.
You told me that.
And then after we land, I just tell them, unfortunately, we've landed, and now you got to get back in a car. And I always tell them, so my daughter, Emerson, bought me this floor mat for Christmas that goes in front of the airplane now, and it says, Pilot Joe, and then it has this quote, welcome to the safest part of your day.
That's cool.
And it's a floor mat to get into the airplane now. But I really do get a tremendous piece out of flying, and a lot of it are for similar reasons we just said. The beauty from there, and the view, the perspective from the sky is just incredible. My wife and I flew out this last week at night. We left Denver at night to fly to Nevada because I had to do a hearing on the following day, and I just had a long day here, so we had to fly that night. And even there's beauty day or night, rain or shine, snow, rain. When you're flying, there's beauty. We took off out of here at night, and we looked back, and my wife said, wow, that is beautiful. How Denver lights up is beautiful. Seeing our stadiums from the sky is beautiful. Seeing the land formations, different things. When you fly over the Rocky Mountains, when there's the leaves are changing.
Yes.
In the fall, oh my goodness, breathtaking. Even when the snow-capped mountains and stuff, and just different land formations. You fly from state to state, and you go from a desert area to a mountainous area, whatever. Incredible. And then, of course, I love the challenge of flying. I like trying to land as soft as I can every time, or battle the wind, or whatever it is.
That gives you joy. The technical part gives you joy too.
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's always a challenge. It's a great challenge with something that I'm very at peace with.
Do you try to schedule regeneration time and joy into your life? I'm not very good at that. I find that I love the feeling of getting things done. And so I'll, like, on a weekend, that's my time to catch up, versus that's my time to recharge. And so I don't know how you go about that.
Yeah, I'm terrible with it. And I think if anyone is listening to this and you're also terrible with it, it's probably for the same reason I am. I feel like if I stop to do something that I really, really like, I'm letting somebody down who really, really needs something from me. And so sometimes I would just work all the time because I don't want to let anybody down. Yeah. But this is why good friendships, and why I love this podcast we're doing together, why it matters, and stuff is that the things that I end up doing for joy that I'm so glad I did are normally because the people closest to me that grab me and say, come on, let's go do this, right?
Yes.
And that gets me out of that mode where I go, okay. We've got some friends that we love to play cards with and hang out in the evenings, and I'll be so busy, I'll tell my wife, I just can't do this, tonight. They'll schedule it, and she'll be like, come on, let's go see them. They're, Jamie and Casey are looking forward to see us. I told them 2 days ago we would. And the whole time I'm getting ready and I'm going, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this.
Yes.
At the end of the night, I'm like, I'm so glad I made this.
Yes.
Because it brings great joy. My wife has been very good at keeping me on track for remembering to, make our family a priority now.
Mm-hmm.
My family, of course, they sat on the sidelines while they were with me through the walk. They sat on the sidelines for a lot of school, right? 4 years of undergraduate, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of residency, 3 years of law school, all the different, my internship, all the different things I did along the way that took so many years. Your family, they're still the most important thing to you, but there's things that they give up. You're financially strapped, you're time strapped, stress is an all-time high. And so my wife has been very good in these later years. Now that's all behind me. Saying, stop now. That whole thing about you did that so that you could do these things. Ooh. Don't leave out the so you could do these things part of the journey. And so what I've done is when I have all those things are weighing on me about letting someone down, I'm not getting something done, the feeling of letting my family down, who waited all those years for me, or who worked along my side all those years, that's a bigger weight. So I always turn into that family thing.
Yeah.
And I haven't regretted it at all.
Ooh, that's good. And here's since we're talking about joy, I think the way that the level of joy that a person is experiencing themselves on the inside is when they're joyful when another person experiences joy. And here's what I mean by that. You and I were talking, you were right after that hearing that you had, we were just kind of catching up and connecting, and I was sharing with you about a meeting that we got coming up, and we're debriefing. And I had mentioned to you that, now, to be honest, it wasn't fully just a joy thing. It was kind of a work thing where there was a new physical therapist that we wanted to work with. He wanted to work with us. And so we decided to take a day going fishing. Remember that?
Yes.
And so I told you that I was going where I was going. And it was so cool because you said, man, get out there, just enjoy it, do the thing. Whereas there'd be so many people, if they're not joyful on the inside, and I went through this. I was actually, back in the day, running 5 practices and doing this and doing that, where I felt guilty if I didn't do it, and then pissed if I went and did it. You know what I mean? So and so then when someone else was going to go do what I wanted to do, there was resentment, and I'm like, yeah, have a good time, whatever. I don't got time for that. Right. And so to hear you, as busy as you are, say, man, go enjoy it. You've earned it. Go do it. Go and experience it. That tells me that you have joy in your heart and that you want joy for those closest to you. And I think that's really cool. That's a good sign. I think people watching, listening, how do you feel when someone's doing something that you love to do? And if they're doing it and it brings resentment, then you need to probably go do more of it to give yourself joy.
Man, that's a great tip. How do you react to others? I mean, I think a few good things. I know we're getting to the end here of our time. It just flew by again. Always does. But I think let me mini recap and then you make sure I capture all this. So, number one, what gets you in a funk and how do you get out of it? I think that's a good thought to think about. Mm-hmm. Number two, what brings you great joy and how do you get more of it? And number three, how do you feel when others are joyful? Like a true self-reflection of those points, I think is pretty cool. So see, Anita, see what you started today with this.
Well done. We just went through that. Can I add a fourth point on that?
Yeah, please.
What can you do? What can you and I do? What can, Gabe and Anita do to bring someone joy? Because one thing that I know is that joy is the opposite of suffering many times. Yeah. And if you don't want to suffer yourself, help someone else with their suffering. And I'll bring this in a much, 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 not a suffering way, but bringing someone joy. I know you were invited to speak at a leadership event for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And these are all young Latino leaders, one of whom happens to work in our firm, which is super cool. Yes. And literally the presentation that you gave to them, what you shared with them, it was moving. It was moving. And so that was a way for you to bring joy, to bring hope, to bring inspiration. And I think that's another sign of you want joy, give someone, provide them joy in whatever way you can, whatever way you're equipped to do it. So I think that might be a good fourth piece to that.
Yeah, that's a great fourth piece. And maybe in another segment we could talk about, something that would be, it's a little bit anal and a little bit nerdy, but I really like the science behind, you hear these things about it's more rewarding to give than to receive. People say these things, right?
Yep.
And so on and so forth, but it really is. And there's actually a science behind that with how your brain works and how, which neurotransmitters are released in excess when you give and you see the joy that somebody else gets, that you've been a part of. They actually have studied it. It's not junk science to show how much more rewarding it is. We get so much more reward from giving, and we get so much more reward from seeing somebody else get joy that it actually is almost a little bit selfish. It's almost like you do it because it's so rewarding to you,
Yeah.
I really get true joy out of seeing people happy and smile. And I love, one last really quick thing. So my office here at the firm is around the corner from our bar. Yes, we have a bar in our firm. It's a social area, and we encourage our staff to use it, to get over there. And we have staff that come over and they use that area, and they'll be sitting there having a drink or maybe a game on the TV or something. They're laughing and they're over here, and I hear them from my desk. Now, there are many things that I hear from my desk that I get up and close my door for. And every time I hear them over here, I get up and I walk over around the corner and I come over and I join them, because there's this endorphin release. There's this, that neurotransmitter release that I cannot reject, that is so good to hear them happy and laughing and telling stories at the end of their day. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I love that. This has been a great episode because, now I'm more full of joy when I'm leaving than when I walked in here. And that's always a sign of a great conversation, like we always have.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the time today. Hope we did not bore any of you out there who listened to this. I know it got just more kind of me and my good buddy, Dr. Hoven, having a conversation here, but I hope you listened. I hope there was something you got from it. Again, please leave us comments, even if your comments are, hey, it was boring. Leave them. If you have another topic you want us to discuss, if you want us to get into something, radically scientific or
Absolutely.
Whatever, we're happy to do so. Anything on leadership, scaling business, things like that. I love it. I know.
Yeah. Oh, no. Anything that we can do to provide value to you. You guys have been so loyal to us. We're on episode in the 200s at this point, and we never thought it would go this far, and it's just gained momentum and gained positivity. And so the comments we get are amazing, and the way that this is really truly continuing to make a difference. We want to be there for you. So whatever we can do, please let us know.
Yeah, please forward this to anybody else who may benefit from it. Again, we want to get people not following us just because we want to be heard or something like that, or have followers or whatever's cool nowadays. We want people that will be benefited and that will find something good and valuable out of what we say and grow from it and give us other ideas to help people grow, because that will, that's what we're here for. That's our mission.
Absolutely. And as Dr. Ramos stated at the very beginning, if this did bring you value, leave us a 5-star. And again, not that we're looking for the 5-star, but because the way the systems work is the only way more people get to see this is if it's recognized by the people who do see it. So we'd really appreciate likes and follows and stars and all the rest of it. If you can give happy emojis, we'd be happy about that too. But there's going to be some show notes, and I hope that brings you a blessing and you get to share this. And, for sure, like always, until we talk again, keep making a difference.